Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Collective Spotlight. It's Brackets episode of the Collective Spotlight. I think we're like maybe 60, maybe 60. No,
It's
just
like
under
55.
55. So I have a really awesome guest. I already got people up here ready, excited for him. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. But my guest is Jay Sandlin, who has, it didn't put you in. Jay Sandlin, who's written a lot of things for MADCAVE. I already have his Over the Ropes, his Hellfighter Quinn. He's writing a young adult graphic novel next year. But we have him here for his BLACKBOX Studios comic, DJINN HUNTER, which is supposed to have been out last week, could have been out this week. I think we're expecting in the next 2 weeks, right, Jay?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, first of all, and for checking out Over the Ropes and checking out Hellfighter Quinn. And then you mentioned World Class. World Class has been announced for a while, but we're going to see it in February. By now, it's already up for pre-order, so you can go pre-order that for MADCAVEStudios.com. And in the more immediate future, as you alluded to, got some releases coming now in August. DJINN HUNTER from BLACKBOX Comics was one of those releases. We've been talking about it, and it's been, I'm crossing my fingers that it's going to be kind of a sleeper comic this year that some people find for the first time, if they've read something I've done yet, or if it's for the first time. It was listed as CBR.com's #1 of the top 10 indie titles they were anticipating. So I was glad for that. And the release date was set for July 28th from the beginning. We ran into some delays and have had a few people, contact me and say, where is it? Guys, it's coming to your shops as we speak. That's the update. We are looking at unprecedented times with Delta and variants and unvaccinated states. And this affects a lot of avenues of life, including the mail. You've got Hellfighter Quinn behind you there. And it was on March 1st of 2020, first weekend of 2020 March, that I did a signing for Hellfighter Quinn in Nashville, Tennessee, and people coming by and talking. And there was a background of this thing called COVID and wondering if it was going to be a really big deal. And that was how my month of March for 2020 started, was a Hellfighter Quinn signing. So now July 28th, 2021, DJINN HUNTER delayed a bit by mail, distribution, printers, all the normal things that can go on with comic releases. But I just want you to know it is coming. Keep an eye out and ask your local comic shops to let you know when it's there.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty of copies here. There was a really cool incentive that came out as well. Actually, you gave me a nice little sneak peek. Let me see if I can.
That is something that we get to include with our special update, that we may not have the books, but we know that they are real. Because I just got some unboxing shots today, absolutely, of some of the DJINN HUNTER variants. That's the variant with Zara, the Mage Hound, and her sidekick, the Phoenix Bennu. Just kicking ass and fighting magical evil.
But it's nice to see that there's proof of life from the books. Because like you said, it was supposed to be.
Hey, Mom, I got to call you back. We're doing a live stream like right now. Yeah, I'm looking at the guy. I'm looking at him. Okay, well, I'll call you back.
Tell Mom we said hello.
Hey, Mom.
It's all right. I know my parents will do the same thing. Hey, Dory, thank you for joining us. I had Dory on my con over the weekend. But Jay, so we got a chance to give people the update on the when the book will be here. Can you let people know what to expect from DJINN HUNTER once it hits shelves? What type of book you're preparing them for?
I just read a review on it from the website comicalopinions.com. You should definitely follow and check them out. I love a lot of their views on comics, but they wrote that it introduces a new world, and in a pretty quick pace, you're going to learn about Zara, the Mage Hound, and how she was imprisoned because she was hunting a sorceress on orders from the Elder Council of Jinn, and made the mistake of not completing her mission because she just happened to fall in love with the sorceress she was hunting. And it's no bueno, just kind of like when, you fail to get a bounty for Jabba the Hutt. She didn't bring her back, so they imprisoned her. And she's coming out. She is out of the bottle. She's out of the bottle, and she is hunting down a rogue Elder Jinn who is basically running amok, and his minions are granting wishes, unauthorized wishes, all across the realms.
Nice. So it's a little bit of like fantasy, high fantasy,
It's a
a little
very
bit of
high
adventure.
fantasy. Yeah, high fantasy, like you're high when you wrote it. The fantasy is just the different realms that she explores. Her sidekick, Bennu the Phoenix, the two of them go to these worlds where they sense magical imbalance, and they look for the evil Jinn who's on that world trying to cause it. So it's a lot. It felt like a lot to have to introduce in the first issue, and that's why some people have said maybe the first 8 to 10 pages felt a little packed. But once you get through that, by design, you get it down to a much simpler story of a Jinn bounty hunter is going after targets, and it's going to build up more from there.
Nice. And it sounds a little bit, and we're a comic and game store, so when I hear these pitches, I think my mind immediately goes there. It sounds like there's a little bit of, that D&D player in there, and a little bit of that Elder Scrolls in there. Were any of those kind of influences, are those things you played growing up?
Absolutely. And I was not allowed to play them growing up because I grew up in a cult and we weren't allowed to play those things. And I'm just telling the truth. I was told those were the devil and I didn't get to play them. I got to discover them more as an adult, and I've still never really played them. Maybe if somebody would invite me, but I'll come play with you guys. But no, I have researched. I researched a lot of enemies, races, and magic spells. For Zara, I knew that I wanted fire to be her primary weapon, because the Quran and other ancient writings about Jinn say that when the world was made, man was made from mud or dirt, but Jinn are born of fire.
Ooh, I like that. And it seems, as you're explaining everything, sounds like you actually ended up having to do a lot of research for this book, both with your character, the world building. How long was this in development? How long were you stewing on this book?
Oh man, don't remind me. I got to give awesome shout outs to Demetrios Zacharias. I am so sorry if I'm butchering your last name, my friend, because I just call you D. Shout out to D. D is the one who, when we talked about a series with BLACKBOX, he wanted a Jinn comic. And that was really as specific as we knew going into it. I threw ideas out. I threw out, well, what if a Jinn was picked up by a white supremacist and got 3 wishes? What if this was kind of like a dark and gritty I Dream of Jeannie? And eventually we kind of settled more. He wanted the high fantasy adventure aspect. And once we got that as the root of things, the root of the story, then it really just started popping off. And we introduced kind of the main character and then the side characters. And I really had a good time designing the Elder Council of Jinn based on the elements. You'll get to meet them in the first few pages of issue 1, but they don't stick around a whole lot for the rest of the volume. It's sort of like you meet the Jedi Council and they send you on your mission to Alderaan or whatever. But I really enjoyed the designs and the care that the series artist, Fabrizio Constantino, who is the art, lines, colors, and lettering, he's a triple threat. And that's probably the most magic thing about the book, is how well he brought them all together.
Oh, just threw Jay out of my studio.
Sorry.
But put him back in there. You threw him out. All right, Jay.
Now you see me. Now you don't.
It's that Legionnaire ring. Don't think I didn't see it. I see him.
Away. Oh, wait, it's upside down.
So you seem Jay, you seem to have a real passion for world building, for creating. You know, you're a true creative. What is your creator origin story to say? Like, what did you grow up reading? I know you mentioned that you didn't get to play D&D and games like that growing up, but what did you grow up reading? Were you into comics? Were you into
Yeah,
comic strips? What were you reading as a kid?
absolutely. The first comics I probably ever picked up were Calvin and Hobbes books. I moved into, I guess, Marvel comics and Archie comics. I read a lot of Amazing Spider-Man. I read the Fox Kids Spider-Man line that Marvel did with the show. I read Sonic when Archie still had held the license, and tried to submit them my drawings of Mecha Sonic to get featured in the Sonic books. And when I didn't hear back, I decided I would just give up drawing then, and I've only been writing ever since. And nobody's ever complained about this. So I guess I have Archie Comics and Sonic to thank for that.
That's that's a great story, mainly just because so many people send things out, you know, and we have a lot of artist friends, and a lot of them keep their rejection letters from Marvel. So a lot of the origin stories I hear in some way, shape, or form start with I sent something, didn't hear back or whatnot, and then you paved your own way, very much so.
Well, I didn't think about writing comics a lot until later. It was just something I always wanted to do, but wouldn't sit down and try to do it. Same with books and short stories and prose. It's just like any other muscle. You've got to work it out and put that time into it. And what got started for me was when MADCAVE Studios did their first talent search in 2018, and I won, and that resulted in the book that became Over the Ropes, which is behind you. So I guess that's the more compact origin story without the childhood trauma part.
So, you mentioned Mad Cave, and I'm definitely going to talk about them in a second. But since we're here for DJINN HUNTER, how'd you end up getting connected with Black Box Comics? They're a smaller, newer imprint. A lot of people maybe haven't heard of them. How did you guys get together for this book?
Got introduced by a friend. This is when it comes to getting jobs and connections happening. It can be just as simple as you're working with someone and they ask you to recommend a friend. In the case of DJINN HUNTER, it started with a friend just recommending that D work with me sometime.
I like it, and it worked. It worked out to the book we're about to get here in the coming weeks.
That's exactly right. That's kind of the short origin story for DJINN HUNTER. That we went through a lot of shaping and throwing out what wasn't working. So a lot of things, they look good in your head, but not so good on paper. I almost said they look good on paper, but that's where our story ends up. So not a good analogy, but yeah, deciding what's going to stay, what's going to go. And now we've got the formula down pretty well. DJINN HUNTER, we've got 5 issues set, starting with this one, and I don't know when we're planning to stop. So it's going to be a magical journey.
Well, and I like that's a perfect way to say it, because I think it will be magical. I'm already excited. As just talking to you, I'm excited to get the book in store, just to drop it for, like I said, a lot of my D&D players I think will really enjoy it, just based off your description and seeing some of the interior pages. It looked awesome as well. So I can't wait for everybody, not just the collective community here, but everybody to finally get to see your book, because I think this is a little bit different than what you've done in the past with Hellfighter Quinn and Over the Ropes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I started DJINN HUNTER more from the foundation. Ryan, in the comments, your question about getting the comics signed, yes, please contact blackbox.com, and your odds are a lot better if you're in the US. Thanks.
Yeah. So let me talk about some of your early work with MADCAVE Studios. So you are now officially my 4th MADCAVE Talent Search winner on the show. I've had David Galliano, Stoney Williams. I also had Anthony Cleveland. So this is awesome to keep having you guys on here. talk to me and the people watching a little bit about what that process is to win the talent, to just be entered into the talent search for Mad Cave.
So I do know the rules have changed, but I do know that the talent search is currently active. I cannot read your scripts, so please don't send them to me, and I won't look at your artwork if it's for the talent search. But that being said, follow the rules as close as you can. Stick to the general idea of what they're asking for, but try to find some way to stand out and go an extra mile. That's not going to be in the length of your story, because you could write a 100-page story and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good one. I would just encourage you to get familiar with the source material that you're writing for, as Mad Cave has IPs that they have their writers work for hire to do. Like, I was hired to work for hire on Hellfighter Quinn and worked with the boundaries they gave me. There's a funny story about that. Is when they first gave me the project, they already had a lot of the ideas that they were stuck keeping because of where they stood in the IP registrations and processes. And when they first floated me the book and said that I could have some freedom with it, I tried to do a completely different story because I thought my way was better. And I mean, whether it was or whether it wasn't, it doesn't matter if you're going to turn in this epic, your generation of the Iliad. Do what the job requires and look for extra details and ways that you can find to stand out within that sandbox. It's my impression that the assignment for the talent search is it must take place this time in the Woven Heart universe. So I wouldn't even put down a first draft unless I had read all that material, and it's not like there's 300 plus issues over 20 years.
One trade paperback,
One trade, right? I couldn't remember. Well, it's coming back though.
It is coming back, but right now, because I just recently.
For right now, you've got this one trade. What else can you find out about it? Because I went into the website for Mad Cave and I went into where I found some character profiles that might have been in the trade. I don't remember, but finding some details from less cited sources and putting that as part of your story could be a way to stand out. But before it's all said and done, this is just my opinion. I have no bearing on who was picked, or I'm not part of it in any way. I would just say don't rush to get in before the deadline. Take your time and ask some friends to read it. Maybe find some other people entering and offer to trade. That's completely up to you what you do, but I just would wish you the best of luck. And if you don't win, don't take it personally, because a lot of it is subjective and circumstances, just like jobs you may get, win or lose. So don't let it bother you. Just use it as an exercise.
Oh, that's perfect, because like I said, a lot of the origin stories I hear started with a rejection letter or no response from a publisher. So I like that you told them not to get discouraged, because it's only the beginning.
Yeah, if you're a writer, if you're an artist, if you're any of these things, being a creative, saying that you don't want to take rejection is like saying I want to be a boxer and not get hit.
And it's so true. And actually, another thing that you mentioned about not rushing and take your time, and you don't have to send it before the deadline. One of our guys, I want to say it was actually would have been Stoney Williams, maybe, told me that he honestly was not going to submit for the talent contest, and then his wife convinced him the night of the deadline. So take your time, like you said, and just don't.
It sounds like Stoney to me.
Yeah.
And he's not learned anything since then. So Stoney, get off your ass, man. Just put it in, because it's not going anywhere. And it's not. I love Stoney to death, like a brother. I'm just saying that it's not going anywhere if you don't try and put it out there at some point. Doesn't mean you shouldn't put out something if you're not proud of it, because some things, if they need to go in a trunk and stay there for a while, that's okay too. You don't have to beat yourself up.
And you talk about Stoney, who again, another Mad Cave talent search winner. You talked about kind of doing what Mad Cave kind of asked of you, making sure your boss is happy and whatnot. It's obviously worked out for you because you've got 2 titles already published through MadCave, with a young adult book, which we talked about at the very beginning, World Class, on its way. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with MadCave? Because obviously now you're getting on your 3rd book with them. Seems like you guys are working really well together.
I love everybody there. I've gotten along great with Mark London and Chris Fernandez, and I've enjoyed working with them when our paths have crossed. I almost corrected you when you said 3, but then I remembered NDAs.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But they've actually they might be falling behind, because in a lot less time I've got a 4th book coming with Zenoscope. Well, I'm sorry, I meant my 3rd book is coming with Zenoscope in August, and the 4th will be at Halloween. So about the same time DJINN Hunter comes out, I hope you guys will check out Zodiac versus Death Force from Zenoscope. It's the battle between the 2 anti-heroes of their shared universe, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's actually going to be a great one too. A nice jumping on point for some people that maybe aren't familiar with Zenoscope's
It would
work.
be a wonderful jumping off point for people because in the book, it's meant to stand alone. These characters have 1 miniseries apiece, so if you do want to catch up, it's not hard. I'd recommend it because I think you always get a better comics experience that way. But if this is the first one you pick up, you're going to get who they are, their stories. And it's also a good place to start because this was one of the first titles, as far as I know, that the new editor-in-chief of Zenoscope, David Wall, WOHL, of Marvel and multiple other imprints, as well as being the co-creator of Witchblade, came on to work with. And I had a great time working with him, talking with him. We're going to have a great time on the Halloween book for October too. But with Death Force and Zodiac, just an all-out superhero brawl that goes across a whole city, and both of these guys are kind of loose on their killing rules.
and actually, now that you mention the Zenoscope book, a lot of people, customers of ours, probably familiar with the name Zenoscope, but they've probably mainly seen books like Robin Hood and Alice in Wonderland. Is it different at all trying to write for a publisher, like when you go from writing for Black Box or for MadCave and then you go writing for Zenoscope? Do you approach it differently at all, or do they kind of just let you do your thing?
Oh, absolutely. You have to approach it differently and figure out what you're being brought there to do and what the boundaries of any relationship are. Sometimes you're given a longer leash, and sometimes you're just doing, a job on the assembly line. Pass the script, pass it on to the artist, who goes to the colorist, who goes to the letterer, and neither will they all meet. Sometimes that's hard to do, but working with Zenoscope is like putting the comic book making process into a washing machine and cranking it up to the insane level speeds, because the level that they put out comics, and some of the best drawn and colored comics that are on the market, period, they will put out a 72-page supersized issue, which has been the thing this year. They've gotten away from floppies. We're doing supersized editions. Death Force and Zodiac is a 72-page comic that was made in, I don't know, June is kind of a blur, but we went really fast, approving pages, and it was just a daily process, getting multiple pages a day from 3 artists working on the same book at the same time. Lots of fun making sure everybody knows what everything is supposed to look like. Everybody liked to give a different version of Death Force's Death Force Mobile, and we had a lot of fun trying to get that one down to one version. But yeah, the speed at which they make it, the time that they will put into an effort into getting one book out quickly for print, and then some books are just going to be a process where you're trying to work from the ground up and build something. So it really just depends on the circumstances.
And I like to hear that, because I think a lot of people think of publishers and they put them in a box, and they say this publisher prints this publisher prints this. And a lot more often we're seeing that that's not just the case, which, you've got, actually we had David Byrne just pop in here, who's with Scout, and they ended up having their all ages imprint Scoot And actually, to wrap it up, I really wanted to talk a little bit about your Maverick book, which
Great.
is world class for MADCAVE, whose all ages imprint is called Maverick. And you said that it's going to be out in February. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You know, World Class is about Adrian Molina, aka the Colombian Cannon. He is a teen sensation on the pitch and gets recruited to England's top under 19 league prep school, boarding school. And it's kind of a big, I guess what you call it, the country mouse and the city mouse. He goes to this place, this first class facility. He is very overwhelmed. He has to deal with bullies, girls, and really at the end of the day, it's more just about the relationships he forms from playing football and going for the cup and sort of finding your team. Have you found your team? That's kind of what World Class asks people.
Nice. And from the moment I saw that book, I kind of remember turning to one of my coworkers and saying, like, this is a long time coming. The what you were writing in that book. Soccer, football, one of the world's most popular sports outside of America, for sure.
More popular now because of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say.
I should have just said. Maybe I should have said teenage Ted Lasso. Go.
I don't know. It almost sounds like an oxymoron, teenage Ted Lasso. I just don't see it.
It means the mustache is stubble. That's really the difference.
But it's so awesome because it feels like a long time coming, because this is one of the most popular sports in the world, which both kids and adults watch. And you're kind of introducing this new character who kids are going to kind of go along on his journey with him. And is that kind of how you're, especially since it's a young adult book, is that kind of how you're approaching it?
Absolutely. And the entire motto for Maverick is to find yourself in the pages. So we're hoping that readers of a variety of ages will find some part of themselves in Adrian and his journey into the Regents United team football club and the boarding school, and all that he goes through as a result of that. Maybe if you're coming out the other side or just going into it, or you may not be, the best player on your team, but you've got a team somewhere in people who like the same things as you or have the same interest. Like we talked about D&D, that's your team right there. So it's really just about Adrian trying to find his place in this really large and media driven, because people in the book are very interested in the cup and who's going to win this cup. And they treat these kids in this cup tournament a bit like celebrities, and they're not ready for a lot of that.
But what's funny is it happens in real life. Maybe not as much in North America because of the college system and everything, but there are kids in European countries and South American countries that get put into the limelight at 15 and 16 years old. And it's kind of cool that you're putting that into a comic book. I mean, like I said,
absolutely think that it happens to kids this age, whether it was actually football or American football when colleges come recruiting,
or AAU basketball nowadays too.
Yeah, all of that. And when you get taken out to the bar at night and find yourself during, happy hour. Hey Ryan, what am I currently reading?
Yeah, so let's get one of those questions in there. What are you reading?
Boom Studios, Something is Killing the Children. Eisner winning book.
Absolutely. Next. James has killed it on that book. Done amazing. So, yes. And it's what do you read? Just because since you're doing a couple of different books, do you read things outside of comics? Do you read, your prose novels? Do you read?
Oh, absolutely. I just released a prose novel in June as well. I know we're mainly a comics podcast here, but if you check out Quantum Rule on Amazon, and that is just an 88-page novelette. You can get a paper copy and carry it in your back pocket if you want, or get the digital copy to read on your tablet or phone. It's a great quick session read that's prose and with some Mad Max meets Hunger Games apocalyptic vibes.
I like it, man. I'm seeing some variety from your career here. We've got wrestling book, we got a little bit of superhero, we got the fantasy. So to wrap it up, because we've hit in 30 minutes here, with everything you've written so far, what is one genre or character that you wish you would like to write before your career is over with?
Well, let's not finish me yet. My birthday's in September, so I mean, I'm feeling the age on me. No, I will. Let's put it this way. What I will do is I will write some space sci-fi, which I've not had as much of a chance to do yet. I will write probably more slice of life into the maybe drama or romantic comedy sides of graphic novels to show they don't all have to be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And before it's all over, I will write some of my favorite IP characters in Marvel and Star Wars and other fandoms. I've got my eye on many.
That's awesome. And honestly, man, I'm wishing you the best of luck because it can't happen to a nicer guy. It's been I can't believe it's already been 30 minutes.
Depends who you ask, but let's do it again. Next time I want to talk a little more spoilers about DJINN HUNTER, because there were things I'm having to hold back. So let's do that.
For sure. Let's in a month or two, let's revisit. You've been a great interview. We'll keep in touch on email and on Twitter. And thank you so much, man. Jay. So the book is DJINN HUNTER. Most comic stores aren't going to have it just yet, but word on the street is it's at Diamond. It's on its way. Give it a week or so. Let your shop know. They can put it on their comic suite or whatever they're using. And when it does release, it can be held for you. We will be doing that for everybody right here at the Collective. So, Jay, thank you so much, man. Best of luck with not just that book, but the Xenoscope book. I think that's going to do really well. We're going to have that here later in August. And hopefully, people keep buying Over the Ropes and Hellfighter Quinn, and we can see what else you got going in MADCAVE soon.
If you want to see more from those titles, you've got to not just read them or buy them. Let MADCAVE know. I know they're very responsive on Twitter and Instagram. And find me on Twitter at @JSandlin_. And this August, it's going to be DJINN HUNTER 1 from BLACKBOX Comics and Zodiac versus Death Force, a supersized release from Zenoscope.
Awesome. And that's just this month alone, and we'll have plenty more moving on. And like I said, we're going to have Jay back again, probably twice in the next 6 months, because I got to have him back for World Class as well.
Let's do it.
We all know that.
I'm not going. I'll be around. As you know, as I am trying to stay healthy and I'm vaccinated and trying to keep others around me safe. And I hope everybody out there who listens to this does the same for you. And no, Ryan, I blocked my mom, so you can't call me back.
Ryan wants to literally
blocked.
see, as the outro goes in, like Jay calling mom back, "Hey, mom, I'm done."
All right. Do the outro. I'll be ready just for you, Ryan.
All right. Well, Jay, thank you so much, man. Best of luck. You have a good one. He's been Jay Sandlin. His mom is about to be on the line. Take it easy, everybody. So thank you, Jay. Jay's been awesome. Again, man, if you guys haven't read any of his older stuff, Over the Ropes, Hellfighter Quinn, he's got DJINN HUNTER. I'll be on the shelves in the next week or so. And just ask your local comic shop for all his stuff. If you have a kid, if you have a soccer playing kid, World Class in February, you can already pre-order it at your local comic shop. We'll have plenty. And maybe with that one being a little bit further ahead, we'll send some copies off to Jay to get signed. So thank you. I've been Danny. This has been the Collective Spotlight. Tomorrow we'll have the Collective $1 auction in the same studio, more wide angle cam, and y'all